So I've not met you guys, but I've heard lots about you, and I'm really excited to hear what you've got to say. So over to you. Is that all right? Thank you so much.
I'm just going to see if do I press this one? Yes. Hi, I'm Jane Williams, and this is Gifty, and I'm just so excited to be here. Thank you so much. It's been an incredibly inspiring and energising day so far. I feel really emotional about all of the incredible work all converging on our families that everybody's doing. So we're from the Magpie Project. We're a charity based in Newham in East London. Newham, if you look at the temporary accommodation charts, there's everybody else, and they always have to create another page for Newham. It's really extreme. So we set up about 8 years ago, and really because we saw that within Newham there were 2,000 homeless under fives in Newham alone. At the moment, close to 400 children under 9 are in hotel rooms without food facilities, so that's home office hotel rooms and temporary accommodation, emergency accommodation from the local authorities. 1 in 12 children in Newham is homeless, so if you walked into any classroom, that would be 2 or 3 children. I think that if, that is damaging their brains and their bodies. If somebody was walking into every classroom and hitting 2 children over the head with a hammer, the army would be on the streets and things were being done, but make no mistake, homelessness is damaging our children, and it's a very silent harm that's being done. So I'm so happy that everybody's talking about it today. Every other child in Newham is living in poverty, and we welcomed about 495, I'm very dyslexic, I apologize, under fives to our doors last year. We work with mums when they are subject to the hostile immigration environment, which means they don't have main duty housing. They struggle to access health. Some of health is charged for them, and they don't have some of the welfare safeguards that everybody else has. And we work with them until they get into emergency accommodation and land into it. So I'm really happy that people like Professor Monica Lake and Paul are doing studies into the health of children in temporary accommodation, but anecdotally what we see a lot in our project is delayed rolling and crawling, and that's often mechanical because there's just no space in these places to learn to crawl. A lot of children just play on the bed, there's nowhere else to play. Flat heads because people are being brilliant parents. They're putting their child somewhere safe, but that just happens to be in the same cot or on the same bed for long periods of time. Delayed potty training. If you are too far doors away from the nearest toilet, you don't know whether that's going to be occupied, whether it's going to be filthy, you may have another child. How do you even start to potty train? I think it's really interesting. The health advice around all of these things is not fit for purpose for our families, and that can create guilt and shame. Inappropriate diet, Gifty is going to talk about that. Social communication delay, we're seeing a lot of that. Is it, chronic lack of play? Is it trauma? Is it parental trauma? And also like an incredible over-incidence of autism, or what looks like autism, and again, is that trauma or is that something else going on? Respiratory diseases based on damp and mould, gastrointestinal distress and accidents in the home. So, people are looking into this, and I really take the point about we need numbers and we need data. So if any academics around the place want to carry on with that, that would be great. So 8 years ago, we kind of realised, I feel nostalgic with Gifty, but we kind of realised that there were lots of families who were not reaching the services, the universal or specialist services to which they were entitled, including children's centres and health visitors and so on. In Newham, the new births list from the hospital doesn't reach the children's centres. Our families are subject to sort of enforced itinerancy, just moving across borough borders over and over again. So I wrote a nice report, I talked to lots of families, I wrote a nice report and went to the local authority and said, look, there are all of these children who are not getting to the services to which they're entitled. And these are some of the answers that I got. They're not our problem. Talk to housing, talk to children's services, talk to the NRPF team. We don't owe them a duty unless they come to our door and ask for help. They won't engage, they're hard to reach. I wrote somewhere, it's like my husband sitting on the sofa and asking me to pass him the remote. And I was like, move, just move and you'll get to these families. You know, they're not hard to reach, you're hard to access or you're in the wrong place. He nearly divorced me over that line. We try, they won't engage. And also just so we can't see the problem, bring us some data. So we set up in a room in Newham with a health visitor, with a homelessness advisor from shelter, with a family support worker from the local children's centre, and with some fantastic domestic violence advisors from the Black Women's Project. And we just waited for mums to come, and then we waited to see what they wanted from us. So this is sort of a user journey, and not all mums go through all of this. Some mums come for the nappies. That's great. Their children need nappies. The nappies are not Rolex watches, they're nappies, they're going to go on babies' bums, so that's fine. So we make sure that a lot of services kind of start around here, fill in a 20-page form in your second language, even though you've had no sleep for 2 years and you've got a screaming baby and a toddler on your lap. We start right, we try and make sure that there are no barriers to access. So come in, have a cup of tea, are you safe? Have you got clothes, have you got nappies, we'll pay travel money. Do you need somewhere to stay tonight, are you in pain? And then we just work on trust and belonging. And what's really lovely about this is that everybody's talking about relationships and deep relationships and how important that is, because you can't do anything before that. We had a lovely psychologist involved in the project, and she said that the first mental health intervention was believing somebody and listening to them and seeing them. So we really took that on board. And then we plug everybody back into the statutory services to which they're entitled. So we have health visitors, but also when people move across borough borders, we try and make sure they're still in touch with health visitors, GPs, children's centres, family support workers. And then we bring into the building specialist support. So we don't expect mums, we don't do signposting, because you can signpost to the moon, you can give really detailed directions, people are still not going to get there. So we bring in praxis, immigration advice, housing advice, early help, and lots of other legal advice, health visitors on site, so on. So we were just doing that and keeping quiet. But then we realised that we really needed to support our children during this time. It's not a temporary period of time. Some of our families have been with us 7 years, that's entire childhoods. The damage is being done every day. So we celebrate and protect childhoods while children and mums are in extremis. We see play as a human right, so we have a play lead, and we do a lot of very deeply themed play, but we do a lot of silly play, so it's like Beach Week this week at the project. And we've got a dance artist in residence, we've got artists in residence. We make sure that we're being creative, so visual art, music. We've got a beautician, we've got Reiki, we've got crafts. So that's expression for growth of children and mums to repair damaged attachments and allow for childhood. And then as part of the well-being, it's really important for mums to speak out. So for staff well-being as well as for mums and Minnie's well-being. I think that we were just doing this, and then suddenly we were just like, oh my God, we're just plugging gaps. We felt really unhappy, and then social services started referring to us, and we were like, oh no, this is the wrong way round. You know, we're seeing the same thing happening over and over again, so we started speaking up. So we've done films. We had a fashion designer for a while, designing fashions, telling our mums and Minnie's stories. We've had art exhibitions and so on, and then we've worked on policy, with UCL, Newham, APPGs, UNICEF, Amnesty, UNHCR, or lots and lots of people. We just tell stories wherever we can. And then in terms of Move On, we've got graduation pathways to land people out of the project, because we realise that goodbyes in terms of trauma and well-being are as important as hellos. So as part of that, our Reach team was born, and Gifty is the lead of our Reach team. We decided that we were going to, all of the people in the Reach team have lived experience, they've all been through the project. And so we decided that we weren't going to talk on everything, but we were going to talk on basic enforceable standards for all homes, equal treatment for mothers and children, and our stories, our solutions, which means that we don't just tell our stories and somebody else goes into another room and figures out the answers. So this is what we've learned, and everybody knows more in this room than we do, so I'm sorry, but if anything lands, then that's great. I mean, we're not experts at all, but over the time, this is what we've learned. In terms of sort of the levels and levers for change. So we won't give up on our daily advocacy and relationships and trust and sharing, because that's where everything starts. And then we sort of finding patterns and systemic issues to fix on a local level in deep relationship with the local authorities and the health services and public health team. And then we ask for invitations into the rooms where decisions are being made about our families. We invite allies in large organisations. We distill into issues and themes. Legal challenges, I think, are really, really important. So we challenge a lot around Section 17, gatekeeping of Section 17 support, around housing and so on. Selective press and media, it's a double-edged sword. Academic reports are really important. And then it's all culminating at the moment in our campaign around kitchens, which Gifty's going to tell you about. We, in terms of working with the local authority, we want our place at the table, but we won't have that at the expense of being able to have placards outside the building as well. So we insist on having both. And in terms of the sort of time scale, we need to do things today. We need to advocate for a mum who's homeless that night, but also the academic reports, although there's a longer time scale, they're still really important. So this is some of the wins we've had so far. I'm not going to go through them all. Gifty and her daughter, Akria, managed to force a social worker review of Section 17 gatekeeping in Newham. They had to rewrite all their policies and letters after we challenged the legal gatekeeping. Akria was about 2 at the time and came into all the meetings. 18 months?
Almost.
Yeah. Yeah, and that was a really useful tool. So they were like, okay, and then Gifty would hold up, like, tell the baby why. So it was really good. So anybody denied Section 17 support had to go through a safeguarding manager, because people were being just chucked out onto the street at night with nowhere else to go. Legal challenges, blah, 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 blah. So in lockdown as well, Section 17 accommodation in Newham, all of it was self-contained, so that was a massive victory. Now we've got a monthly meeting with housing to work through sort of systems and intractable issues, and out of that came these hotel charges that people were paying and then getting into debt, and then debt collectors were coming round, so those have been written off, which we think is a great victory in terms of sort of moving forward. And then our campaign. So I'm going to hand over to Gifty.
Thank you, Jane. Hi, my name is Gifty, and apparently I've got the best name in the room. I came to the Magpie Project in 2017, and I've gone through the project, so I've got lived experience, of the hostile environment, and with the mums at the Magpie Project, we thought our stories, our solutions, we have to be part of the solutions. As Jane said, we have to be in the room. So we set up a group, a campaign and advocacy group called the Reach team, which stands for Rights Experience Advocacy Change. And we represent the over 300 active members of the project. And as I said, we've come together to advocate and be the voice of the project. For the past year, we've listened to our mums, all of them who are going through the hostile environment, and day in and day out through casework and through listening peer support, we've heard what they're going through, every one of them through the hostile environment. But what keeps coming to us every single day is the lack of kitchens. Somebody is constantly telling you, I can't cook for my child because I've been placed in accommodations without kitchen. And this kept coming back. And it's become a bit concerned to us because we're seeing the impact of not having enough nutrition for your child. We're seeing every single day the impact on our children. So today we would want you to imagine trying to prepare a meal, 3 meals a day for your family with no fridge, with no cooker, no hob, no microwave, and not just for a day or a week, but this goes on months on end. For our mums, they do not have to imagine this. This is what they live. This is their reality. And here are some of the things that we struggle with. Basic things and which are very essential, like sterilizing bottles and making up baby feeds are impossible in these accommodations. We find it very hard to wean toddlers onto solid food. We cannot comfort our children with home-cooked food when they're sick. And it takes financial toll on the mums as well because they cannot afford the extra hundreds of pounds that it costs to buy takeaway food for each meal. And it's so ironic that we have health visitors coming in to tell us to feed our children. And it's not that we do not know how to feed our children, but we don't have the means to feed our children the right foods. We're having to buy takeaway, which nutritionally does not meet the needs of children. We cannot refrigerate express milk or vital medicine. So you go to the hospital, you're given a bottle of antibiotics or any kind of medication, and you don't have anywhere to store it. We get mums saying, I had to keep my child's medication on the windowsill, open the window, and it's cold. But just to keep the medication cool. We have children, they're being hospitalized for constipation, stomach upset, and malnutrition. Children are less able to fight off illnesses due to malnutrition because you have to, you're all health, we've got healthy people here. So you have to build up your immune system. But because they're not being fed right, they're not able to fight off the colds, fight off all these other diseases. We see in dental decay, risk of diabetes or heart diseases later in life. I think there was also a report about how children being moved on to solid food because they're not being provided these kind of food and not using their jaws or their teeth, that it's affecting their speech. So we're seeing a lot of developmental delays. And also not to, leave out the mental and well-being toll it has on the mums and the children. So we do recognize that change cannot happen all at once. So in our campaign, we're asking for 3 steps. And number 1, we're asking for an immediate support package for families, including community kitchens and financial aid. And we don't see this as a solution. We see it as just a band-aid, to hold or meet the needs or the hardship just for now. We're asking that no families are put in hotels without kitchen for more than the 6 weeks legal limit. And our ultimate goal, the icing on the cake, is a ban on the use of hotels without kitchens for families under 5s. So how can you help us today? Find us later on and scan us. We've made it very easy for you. So you can scan us to sign our petition. And we've also got some postcards which we can distribute for you later on. And look at our website for our reports, and we've got a lot of reports there and campaign materials. And can your organisation endorse our campaign. We're looking for buy-ins from your organisations to join forces with us to bring on change, escalate or whistleblow if you can, safeguard and end public health. Don't allow anyone to make this about community kitchens or rice cookers in hotel rooms. We have to fix, as I said, fix the immediate hardship, which is, the Band-Aid, and solve the root issue. I was very happy when Andy was talking earlier on about this is a housing issue, so we have to go to the root of it and build more social homes. Thank you very much.